So my talk is called Using the Web for Music Production Live Performances. And as you already said, I'm Monschke. I'm a front-end developer from Berlin. And honestly, I don't have a musical background. So if you're a musician, everything that I know is like really amateur. And you might know more about it, but I'm very passionate about music. And actually, I played in a band like when I was 15, 16, I think it was 2004. And we had a band and we had like a rehearsal room, but the first thing we had was this website, honestly, because we were two nerds and like the drummer and me, and we were just like, oh, nice, have you heard of table layout? Awesome, this and this, and you can't really see it, but there's like, we didn't have PNG alpha back then, so this is black and this is kind of blue because it's a VNP and we only had paint, whatever. Really amateur, like my understanding of music. So let's talk a bit about audio on the web. Like, who here has done anything with audio on the web? Oh, cool. Does anybody remember BG Sound? Oh, I'm not that old, come on. Okay, like it was you could just add a MIDI file to your website so it will play in the background. That's how audio started. And then we had like the object and embed tags that you can embed some Flash that can play your MP3, but it still very sucks because you have to use Flash to play MP3 or WAV files. Luckily later we had the audio tag, and now we could do everything. We could play music, we could start, stop, we could stream music, everything in one tag. That was awesome. But still we could only play music and not do anything else with the music that we had. And then some people at Mozilla came up with the audio data API, which is an API that gave you access to manipulate the music or to create music from scratch. And it was quite decent, but some of the peeps at Google had something against it and didn't really like the API interface, so they came up with their own API, which is the standard now. And they came up with the web audio API, a more advanced and more concise way to deal with everything audio on the web. But what is it? So what you can do, it gives you a very low level access to audio. And I'm a JavaScript developer, so I say it's very low level. If you're a real audio programmer, it's extremely high level. Like, we don't have to fiddle around with bits. We can do that in JavaScript, but we don't do that. So yeah, low level for JavaScript developers, meaning you can create sounds with oscillators. Anybody not sure what an oscillator is? Yes. So an oscillator is a device or a software or an object that creates a wave, an audio wave, and an audio wave has different parameters like the frequency and like a shape. So an oscillator is something that creates a very basic sound, and I would have an example later. You can have that in your JavaScript now. You can manipulate sounds, like if you have a sound and you can apply a filter to it and make it sound like it's played from the radio, or you have some effect that gives some echo or something. And more importantly, it gives you the ability to time sounds precisely. So imagine you have a band, and your drummer is called set timeout, or let's call him set interval, and that's how he plays the drums, and every 500 milliseconds he's off by 10 milliseconds. So like your band will really sound out of place just because the drummer is not precisely timed. That's one issue that we have right now in JavaScript, like timing is really bad. So the Web Audio API has its own timing system. So whatever sound you want to play, you can precisely say, okay, in 0.3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds, I want to play this sound for this duration and this part of the song. And it guarantees that it's precise and not like, oh, let's play it 10 milliseconds off just for the sake of it. And you can do tons of other cool stuff like spatial audio and Okay. Could you not hear me before? Ooh. Nobody says anything? Great. Yeah, you can do tons of other cool stuff, like spatial audio. So if you have, for example, a game, and you obviously have a 3D world, and you want, I'm the player, and there's like something is happening over there, and it's pointing to that direction, like an explosion, and it's pointing to my direction. You can define a 3D coordinate, and the sound will come from that direction automatically, and it's like 2 lines of JavaScript now. Actually, maybe 3. Okay, this is what we get now. But how does it look like? Like, I will give you like a short introduction on how to do this. Like, everything in the Web Audio API is created from a context. So you create a context object, like as if you were doing something with Canvas. Like, we create a new audio context. And in this example, we create an oscillator. You remember that thing that's creating waves? So you just say, oh, context create oscillator, and then what you have to do is every node that you create, like an oscillator is a node, you have to connect it to a destination so that the sound will be heard. Like a destination, like this context destination, means connect that sound to the speakers, please. Because otherwise you wouldn't hear it. So you have to create your own like node graph from that. And once it's connected, you can start it, and then it just makes a sound. And who here knows how an oscillator sounds? It's very awesome. I will just play it so that you get an understanding of how basic or low level it is, what we have. This is what you get from an oscillator. It's a sine wave. You can change the frequency. So this is what you get now. Really simple. If you are confused by like all this stuff, I have a nice visualization for that. It's not mine, but so this is what is being created in your code. You create a gain node. No, whatever. No. If you play a sine wave, it creates something that looks like this. There are different types of waves. You can also have a square wave. You can kind of see that as like that kind of a shape instead of like a very nice easy one. A triangle wave, which is, as you can guess, like a triangle, but the visualization is very hard to do. And you can have a sawtooth wave, which is like goes up like this, and you can, like, the shape of a wave really creates a different sound, and that's again what I mean with low level. One cool thing in the Web Audio API is what you can see here in Firefox. You have a Web Audio debugger, and you can see the node graph that you create. So what we created is an oscillator node, like in the example before. We have the oscillator node. And then in the end we connected to our destination, which is here. And in between we have some other nodes. We have a gain node. A gain node controls volume. And we have an analyzer node that it gets some input here and outputs the same input, but in between you can analyze the audio data. For example, in this example, I can just draw the audio signal on a graph. This is all what you get right now with the Web Audio API. So you can do other cool stuff, like you can play a sound. Like, actually you don't need the Web Audio API for that, but if you want to manipulate the sound, you have to create it in the Web Audio API. So you create a buffer source, and the buffer source is only something that you load an MP3 file from your server, and then you decode it, and then you have it at some point, and then you just assign the buffer to your node. Again, you connect it to the destination, and you start it. And the start method has some parameters, and the first one is when do you want to start it? You can say, okay, precisely in 1 second I want this to be played, and I hope this works now. Never sure. So I'll click, and then 1 second it starts. You have to believe me now that it's very precise, but I don't have an example right now of how precise you can time it. But it's much better than anything that you have right now in JavaScript. So, yes, I had the visualizations. So, I read about this, I experimented a lot last year, and then I had to write a master thesis, so I came up with this title. I wanted to build a collaborative music production environment using emerging web standards, which means I wanted to build an audio editor in your browser just to see how far we can go with the Web Audio API, how mature it is. And therefore, I had to analyze audio editors, like you have to look at all of them. For example, you look at GarageBand, you look at Ableton, and you can see like a pattern. They all have like tracks in this direction, and this is some settings for the tracks, and you can drag and drop stuff here. Looks a bit more complicated in Ableton, but basically you do the same. And so yeah, from the analyzation, you have to do that in a thesis. You analyze, oh, we need to have a timeline. We need to have previews depending on the content. Like if you have drums, you program drums, it's a different preview than when you have a recorded audio file. We have tracks that are rows. And we need to have 4 features. We need to be able to record, we need to be able to import music, we need to somehow program drums, and we need to have a synthesizer to create sound. A synthesizer basically is something that combines filters and oscillators into a nice sounding instrument. And I will show that in a second. So this is what I came up with. The editor looks like this. You have tracks here, you have some settings here, you can drag and drop, and you have different previews for recorded audio and your drums. But it also has one thing on top of all the other editors that are out there, because it has collaboration built right into it. Because we're in the web, and when you're on a website, you are connected to the website, and then it's obvious that maybe when you have a band and you work on the same audio editor, why is there no possibility yet to share the working space and you can work on it together? So one part of my project is that everything you do, you can just invite someone and you can work on one audio project with a friend. And that's very cool for remote brainstorming. Like if you're in a band and you like physically, you don't live together, of course, and like if you want to jam together, you can just use that tool now. It has like autosave, auto backup, but it doesn't work offline because you need to be connected. So if you want to rehearse, or like if you have an idea and you're in the plane, kind of sucks. Now, maybe one day you're gonna have decent internet on planes. Oh yeah, let me show you how it looks like. Oh god. Cool. Let's go to one arrangement. Maybe not that. So this was just the list of stuff you can do, and this is a track that has 2 recorded things in it, or a project with 2 recorded things, and I can just add a track. For example, I can add a drums track, and it appears here, my awesome drums. I can add drums to it and then get this nice interface, like very, very simple. If there's a dot, then play the drums at this time point, and doesn't really sound too nice, but like have like a little Berlinish party sound. So you can do stuff like that, and you can see it already updates the preview. Obviously you can close that, and I want to play this at a different point of time. Let me delete that, it's not really good. What you can do is you can create a synthesizer node. And you can create a synthesizer. These are nodes that will be played once, or I can just play the synthesizer. This is how my very awesome synthesizer sounds like. I'm not a music programmer, so this is from filters and oscillator nodes what I came up with. It sounds like this. So this is all done in JavaScript, and you can alter a lot of things in there, like it doesn't work anymore. Oh yeah, of course not. Okay, it kind of sounds like Kraftwerk in the beginning, but yeah. You can do that, or you can maybe, if you're a band, you record something, and for example, this is something, a guitar track that my flatmate recorded, and this is a drum track that my brother recorded. And I did that. My flatmate was in Berlin, my brother was in Düsseldorf in the west of Germany, and they were jamming together, and they were jamming, of course, a famous favorite song, but you can use this tool to create stuff like this, so it would sound like, if I play now, you might know the song. It's very, very famous. This was my flatmate in my room, and this is my brother in his room, my old rehearsal room. That's now his rehearsal room. And I did that together, and I did it like this. So let me show you how. Oops. How do I exit? Okay. So I have two versions of this open right now, and like at some point, my brother was like, "Oh, okay, let's record this." And he pressed the plus button and then wanted to allow microphone access, and then you can see that there's already an incoming signal sometimes. And then he just pressed record, uploaded the stuff, then it appears here, dropped it in, and you can see it appears here and here simultaneously, and then my flatmate dragged it around, and normally it would show up here as well, in the right position, whatever. And then he would just play it, and it sounds press record. Awesome. So that's how they did it, and you can do everything together at the same time. Normally it should have deleted this here as well. Whatever. It has some collaboration built in, as in if I record something here, it appears there, and like sometimes there's a network problem. But that was what I did in my thesis, and we can all create a song together right now. Meaning, I will do a song, and you have to watch. So, I'm not sure why this is called cut. Normally, when you're a band, you record stuff, and you have drums. You start with the drums, right? So you create a drums track. Record that, and oh, I already did that. Just push it in here. What you need is vocals, because it's very boring if you don't have vocals. Let's add some vocals to that. What else do we need? We need bass. Bass is cool. Let's add some bass. And maybe melody. Yeah, melody's good. Melody. Let's arrange that. And imagine we're like 4 different people now, and we would all record this simultaneously, and then somebody's done, and then, oh, did I? And then we have the bass, we record it, let's edit, the drums, the vocals. Then we can just play that all together again, and then in JavaScript we created a song. And the basic things in this editor, like you can mute a track, so you can actually live mix it somehow. So we will not hear the vocals now, and I can add them again. You can solo it. Put everything back in. So that's what you can all do in JavaScript now, if you spend some time and do a thesis about it. And it was an awesome experience. Like, of course, it's not a tool that any real musician can use right now. There's some flaws, and the export is kind of wonky. But you can see that we're getting somewhere where we can really use the web to produce audio. But I also wanted to talk about live music performances. And basically, you can do that in like 3 ways. In web audio, you can get your guitar, plug it in here, use the microphone access, and then just record it and put some filters on top of it, and you're done. And you could actually do that live. You could just use your computer as an amp for effects and everything. That works. You can live code, like you can just hook up Sublime and auto reload, and then just code, and then would create a song on the way. Or you can use MIDI devices. Who knows what MIDI is? Should I explain it anyways? Yeah. So MIDI is basically only a protocol that, like, imagine this is not an iPad but an instrument. It could send a MIDI signal to my computer, and my computer would do something with that, like play a certain file or apply a filter. And actually that's something that normally as a musician you do now. If you're like an electronic musician, you have Ableton or whatever software, and you can just plug your devices in and then use them to play on your computer. And this is something that one of my most favorite bands is doing. Their name is The Glitch Mob. And that's how they sound like. They have 3 guys, and this is what they do on stage, like this. So they have their kind of like iPads, and they just send messages to one computer that is doing all the, oh yeah, totally freaking out here. So what they do is, they have awesome drawing. So you have the three of them, and they have like their iPads, and they send a MIDI signal to one computer that is then creating the sound that they want to have. And this is pretty awesome. Problem is, I wanted to demo that here, but I don't have 3 people, and I don't have the software that does this in JavaScript yet, but I'm working on it. So, turns out you can actually do that on your own as well. This is my favorite Japanese DJ, and he sounds like this. In this demo, he's using only his iPad and sending signals from a very futuristic interface to his audio software. Obviously, it's a more simple song, but when he's on stage, he has 3 iPads and like electronic drums, and he's using that all to send MIDI signals to a software. And yeah, I wanted to do that. So awesome. We not only we have web audio, but we also have web MIDI, which is, it gives you like again, MIDI is not background sounds on websites. It's a protocol. It's very serious, and it's an early stage API. So what you can do is you can hook up your electronic music device to your computer, and you can just use it in your browser. It sends the signals right away. And what's awesome about the web MIDI API is that basically, like, we're in the Western world, we're kind of serious about web audio, but if you go to Japan, they're crazy about it. And they're crazy about web MIDI because music in the Japanese culture is something completely different, or not completely different, but it's much more important than here. And they're very crazy about everything that is related to music. And so they have the MIDI API, so they created a mascot that looks like this. You can see that's like the MIDI keys and some MIDI adapters, and it's worldwide and the world. But they went further and they actually made a video like an animation for that. Yeah. What up? So yeah, there are some hackathons around the world, and there were hackathons about Web Audio API and Web MIDI in Berlin as well. But if you see a hackathon in Japan about the Web MIDI API, you see that. It's completely crazy, and they go really nuts, and I'm very thankful that they do it because they create awesome stuff with it. Yes. Okay. Step back a bit. How can you do a live performance in JavaScript? Last year, here as well, I did a demo with another API. We didn't have the Web MIDI API there, but we have the gamepad API, and you have like gamepads that kind of look like instruments. You can use them, and that was cool. You can also use the guitar from Guitar Hero. This is DJ Hero, very recommended. And then this year at JSConf, there's Jan Krutisch, and you can see there's a lot of code here, and it looks like it's in a club, because actually he's live coding a song there with his self-built live coding web audio tool, and on the side you can't really see him. There's Stuart Memo, also one of the most important web audio people. He plugged the guitar into his computer, and then they kind of connected their two computers to create an intro song for the JSConf this year, and I found that very awesome. And I wanted to do another demo, and I need to kind of show you how it looks like, because you will not be able to see it. This is how my interface looks like for my interactive demo. I'll just connect this to the iPad that I have right here. And again, I just want to show what you can do right now with WebAudio. So I have the same interface right here. It's a website. Let's see if it works. Does anyone know how to get this out of this shell? Because I can't connect the audio. Shit. No one? It's not my iPad, so everybody's watching. Oh, great. Let's edit that out. I have no idea. Yeah, I hear that there are pictures taken. I think I got it. Freedom! Do that again. Ah. Oh wow, this is as loud as it gets. Can you kind of hear it? Yeah? Okay. So I came up with this. It's a recreation of of one of my favorite mixes ever in the world. From you see. So I just have this interface and I can trigger that sound. Can add some filters to that. Sadly, we don't have video from this iPad right now, because I also built in some visualizations that would appear on here. So when they happen, I would just go like, there it is. Almost there. So that was, yeah, I love that. That's the Deftones, and the mix is done by, in original it's done by Jay-Z and Linkin Park, or basically only Jay-Z. Linkin Park did all the work. So, and you can do some nice effects as well. And that's it. That's what you can do on an iPad if you use like MIDI to send it to itself in JavaScript. And next year, no. Next year we're gonna have the glitch mob jazz. We're gonna have 3 people doing that, and then we can have like a nice performance here. And that's it. Thanks for your attention. Anybody wants to participate? In the yes.
So this should be on for the listeners. Okay, then we need to shout questions. Who has a question?
Is your tool open source?
It will be open source today. Yeah.
Release
released. The thing is, it's really bad code, and for some weeks I've been looking at it and almost throwing up. But I think I don't have to throw up anymore, and I can open source it today. But it's not good.
Well, it's pretty impressive.
This is nicer.
If you could implement this somehow.
Yeah, visualizations would be awesome. Like have him like dance to the song. That would be really cool. Yeah, he's awesome now. Yeah, I will make that open source today. We'll put it on Twitter and.
Okay. More questions? Yeah.
What did you use for this communication with the server? WebSockets or?
Yes, the server, the synchronization protocol uses WebSockets. Yes, so everything is synced in WebSockets. Yeah. It's much faster than everything else. I could have used WebRTC, but it's too unstable. And my algorithm is very unstable as well.
What's the latency like if 2 people are playing? It depends a lot on the network.
There is something built in that is a video chat, and you can have a video conversation with someone, and that's how you can kind of jam together. But I wouldn't advise anyone to do that because latency is really bad. And that's not due to the tools, it's due to the internet. Yeah. So if you really want to jam, you should do that. If you're like a drummer, you should do that in place, in the same location, definitely. But you can try it out. It worked for my brother and my flatmate.
But so you said there's a video thing, so you could conceivably try to sync up somebody playing music with somebody else doing video. But
Yeah, you could do that. Definitely. Any question?
Can I somehow find your master thesis on the internet?
Oh yeah. My thesis is hosted on GitHub.
Ah.
And that's also where you will find the tool later today. Yeah, if you go to Monschke on GitHub, you can see it right away. Thesis, you can read it here.
So, what was your conclusion in your master's thesis?
I don't remember.
Is it? So I need to read it
It's
out.
like 2 months ago.
I can totally relate to that. Right? The state of audio formula. I mean, it looks pretty impressive, but
Yeah.
what do you still want, feel, need, whatever?
Well, what was my No, I guess one of the main things is that some basic support. For example, if you build DJ tools, and I said that last year as well, you need to have more than one destination. So now you can only put this to your speakers, but normally you would have like, if you're a DJ, you would have like a mix that is on your headphones and a mix that is being played. You cannot have that right now, and that would be really good. And the performance has massively increased in the last 2 years, and I think it's getting better. And like the work that is being done on the API right now is very awesome as well. Like, for example, there's a thing that you can program music live using, how's it called, script processors. Yeah, and it's kind of not fast, but they're gonna enable that so you can do like script processing in background tasks, so that you don't have to use your UI threads to do the calculations. That would be really cool. Because then you can build like Ableton like speed interfaces.
Good. More questions?
Can you tell me in short what has changed since the last year in the web audio API?
The interface is basically no, actually not. So from the interface there were not so many changes. Like if you had a program from 2 years ago, it would actually still work if you would rename some functions. But that's it. Just the names of functions changed. But since then it was very stable. But yeah, they don't really announce it big that you have to rename your functions in the new version of Chrome, so you find out that it's not working. And like, why is it not working? Yeah. So the best thing is to follow their GitHub. But it's, yeah, it's a lot of noise on that GitHub. And maybe one thing that is coming is support for plugins, like audio plugins that are on your machine. So you can use them in your website as well. But that's very early, and that would be really awesome to have.
Did you look at using something like Chrome apps where you could use native extensions?
No, I haven't looked at that. I'm not sure if that works because it's like very deeply in your. Yeah, if you have a native extension, you could definitely make that work.
Yeah.
But
extensions allow native code, so that might be something to speed
the
up
problem
as
is
well.
the latency that you have in between then, because I don't think it's like very fast, the native extensions. So they have to build it into the browser so it's usable.
Pull request.
Yeah, I guess they're very welcome if you have a pull request for that.
Okay.
Yeah, cool.
I guess that's it for Jan's talk. Thank you very much.